welcome to Omega Baptist Church. It's another Sunday. We are so excited to welcome you into the sanctuary. You know we're still on pandemic lockdown, so we are not gathering and we are being socially distant and appropriate as we are here. I need to remind you that the church is not the building, but the church is in your heart. You are the church. So I'm so glad that you're joining us, and as our community development and interests continue to expand, and we are continually concerned about the success of women, we are so happy to invite Cecily, Campbell to join us today from the Women in Transition program, which is a Tri-C incentive. East Cleveland has partnered with them in this effort, and your pastor is so gratefully a part of the coalition of women supporting this. I know we gave you some handouts regarding, we've talked to you a little bit about it, but nothing like hearing it from the professional's mouth. Let me introduce to you our sister who is in this with us to win this. She is a part of our Crown Adjusting Society. Welcome, Mrs. Campbell. God bless you. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me here with your congregation. Dr. Finney.
We are so happy because we not only have our congregation here today, you also are being broadcast in Kenya to our family and our sister church.
How awesome is that?
Yes, the name of the church is the Church Under the Trees because they are out in the forest. We just put a new roof on, so they now have a roof. Pastor Paul, welcome into the sanctuary. But we want to tell every woman in Cleveland, East Cleveland, in this county, that we are here for you. This incentive is written specifically for East Cleveland, but not only for East Cleveland women. If you don't live in the city, you still qualify to participate. And let me just turn this whole thing over to our partner, Tri-C, say it again, Women in Transition, don't forget it, Mrs. Campbell.
All right, so again, I'm just so blessed to be here to talk about my passion, the Women in Transition program of Cuyahoga Community College. It is a non-credit course that is completely free to all of our community, women in our community. We are grant funded, so that makes it free, but it's for women in any stage of transition, however she might define transition. It is a course centered around self-love and centered around just being of service to our community, to the mothers of our community, to the wives of our community, to the divorcees of our community, to the empty nesters of our community, to any woman in any stage of transition, again, how she might define transition. I would like to take this time to just kind of share a little bit of my personal testimony and how I found the program. I am born and raised from Cleveland, Ohio. I was raised not too far from here, 117th and St. Clair. My parents divorced when I was really young. I went on to earn my high school diploma from Beaumont High School in Cleveland Heights. My God-given talent that I'm athletically inclined, well, I was athletically inclined some years back, that led me to a full-ride athletic scholarship to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. After Vanderbilt, spent some time living in Nashville, then went on to earn my master's from Washington University in St. Louis in the School of Social Work, Brown G. Warren School of Social Work, which was rated the #1 social work school in the nation. About 2 weeks prior to finishing my coursework, I found out that I was pregnant. That was not the course I had for myself, not the course my family had for me. And I didn't take the appropriate steps as we're all taught as kids in regards, because I was unwed at the time. I was typical, like I said, my parents divorced when I was young. So I was raised by a single mother. My son's father told me day one that he wanted me to get rid of it. So I knew I'll be raising my own child as a single mother, day one. My pregnancy was stressful, to say the least. There was a lot of verbal abuse and some other physical, and honestly some sexual abuse too. And I share my story, I get really personal, just because I want women to know that they are not alone in their journey, and oftentimes women don't share what has happened to them. So I would say my mom came to Nashville, and I wasn't in Nashville at the time, I was in St. Louis at the time, and she saved me. My friends there threw me a baby shower. My mom came and surprised me for the baby shower. She also came with the moving truck and said, "You're moving home." I had no more fight left. At that point in my life, I never thought I was returning home to Cleveland, Ohio. To be honest, some parts of me felt that I had outgrown Cleveland, Ohio. I had experienced the world. I had friends who came from wealthy backgrounds, and I kind of wanted to hide in that realm of society. But at this point, I had no more fight left. I came home. 5 days before my son was born, I came home. I moved home. I moved back into the 2-bedroom condo that I grew up in. My mom had painted the walls a nice canary yellow. She said it was a good nursery color. And I just kind of started my life trying to figure out this whole motherhood thing. I started receiving calls from my friends in St. Louis, just checking on me and my son Jackson. But then the calls took a turn. The calls started talking about my son's father and saying, "Hey, did you know his girlfriend last year was pregnant?" Like, yeah, I knew of her. She had lost a baby. He told me about her. Oh, okay. Other calls came in. Hey, my friend so-and-so said so-and-so took advantage of her in his car. And she described the car. I'm like, that sounds believable. More and more calls came about my son's father taking advantage of women. And then someone said the word rape. And then the social worker came out of me. And the social worker was like, I need to help all of these women who don't know of the resources. So I'm spending my nights when my child is asleep on the computer, finding the resources in St. Louis, Missouri for these women. I'm calling these women to get their side of the story. I'm using my social work background. And then one of those long nights, it just dawned on me, Cecily, why did it take for you to learn about these other women? When he did the exact same thing to you, you didn't care. Something in my head told me, stuff like this is supposed to happen to girls like me. I didn't know where it came from, but that's kind of just how I felt. So at that moment, I knew it was stinking thinking, and I knew I needed to get myself in some counseling. So I started the process of counseling. I started to heal from my own childhood trauma. Being athletically inclined comes with an athletic figure, also comes with unwarranted touches from young boys and unwanted stares from grown men alike, quite frankly. But I worked through all of that in counseling. I forgave who I needed to forgive, my father, other men in my background. And I was on my way. I had the conversation with my mother, because at some points I thought that maybe she was to blame for my father not being in my life. That was one of my homework assignments in counseling. So I said, Mom, so my counselor said, I need to have a conversation with you in regards to why my daddy wasn't around. And she said, Cicely, I never kept your father from you. And she pointed out some very detailed experiences that I remembered. One being, remember when your father came to pick you up and he took you to the beach and you met your sister and your brother? Like, yeah, I remember. My brother was older than me and my sister's younger than me. Well, so my father had an affair? Yes, he did. Okay. Remember that one track meet that we were almost late and you only got to one jump? Because I did the long jump at the time as well, one of my field events. I'm like, yes, I remember. I just couldn't understand what was taking you so long to leave the house. You knew we had a long drive. I was complaining the whole time. Well, Cicely, that was one time your father said that he promised he was going to make it to your track meet. He promised he would come over and because he wanted to go, but he never made it. so we were late. So I never kept your father from you. He just, for whatever reason, couldn't be there for you. So forgave my mom, and I understood that she wasn't the reason my father wasn't around. Later, I had a conversation with my father and learned of his sickness, i.e. his drug abuse history. So I knew not to blame him either regarding, the struggles that he had in life as well. So counseling was really, really good for me. After counseling, now I'm trying to get back, find a job, find my rhythm. I'm trying to figure out this motherhood thing. This was really never my goal at this point of my life, honestly. I really wanted to be a professional, career woman. I honestly didn't even like babies at the time. But here I am with the baby. So I'm trying to find a job, but I can't find a job with this little child in my hand. So I'm going out to daycares. I quickly learned that daycare sometime payments cost a mortgage. Can't afford daycare. One of the last daycares I went to, she said, well, if you're not working, go down to the county and get your daycare voucher. I'm like, what's a daycare voucher? She's like, well, you're not working, you qualify for daycare vouchers. So I went down to the county and I signed up for everything I was qualified for. My daycare voucher, my WIC, my cash assistance, everything. And then she said, my caseworker said, for you to get cash assistance, you have to be doing a work experience program. She said, I'll be honest with you, Ms. Campbell, I've never had anyone with their master's on my caseload. I don't know where to place you. So I said, well, you know what? She asked me, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I'm not necessarily a single teen mom, but I'm sure I've experienced some of the same stuff. She called some agency, no one answered the phone. She said, well, what did you do before you left St. Louis? I said, well, I knew day one I was going to be a single mom. So I was working 2 jobs while I could to save money. I was a substitute teacher during the day, and in the evening I worked for the YWCA for their transitional housing program for women, helping them transition from homelessness to permanent housing. And she said, well, Tri-C has a women in transition program. That might be the appropriate fit. So she called down to our metropolitan campus. Who would be my team member, Kendra, answered the phone. She said, yes, we have room for a WEP, it's called a WEP participant. So I jotted down the information. We made an appointment for me to interview as a county volunteer, and that's how I started my journey within Women in Transition. At the bottom of the totem pole, being a county volunteer to receive my cash assistance. I would think that my personality and my background started to shine through with the program, and very quickly I moved up in ranks of the program. From the county volunteer, and then the director at the time, she called one day and said, Cicely, I've heard such great things about you. Would you mind moving your assignment out to our Eastern campus? I said, sure. I live 5 minutes from East Campus. My son's daycare was 5 minutes from East Campus. So I moved my assignment out there, and I'm just answering phones, going back to filing my paperwork. I recall taking my first 2 check stubs. Move my assignment out there. So I'm answering the phones for the director. One call came from the vice president at the time. I could tell it wasn't a good call. She came out and said, Cecily, what do you know about financial literacy? Do you think you can manage this grant? I said, absolutely I can manage this grant. Not telling her that I'm a social worker, and if she looked at my budget and my stuff at the time, there's no reason why she should have, my credit score, she should not have me managing the grant. However, in my head, my mom was an accountant. I was trying to recall the one class I took in grad school about grant management, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I was hired on as a financial literacy coordinator. I remember taking my 2 check stubs, my first 2 check stubs down to the county, and my caseworker saying, I'm sorry, Ms. Campbell, you no longer qualify for any county assistance. I hugged her and I cried because I knew the county was there for me in my time of need. But I had found my own way and found my wings, and I was ready to move on. So I just started my professional career at Tri-C. Then after being the financial literacy coordinator, I was sitting on some classes because I had my master's in social work, because I was just falling in love with the program and the stories of the women that came through the office. So I was then hired on as the student advisor of the Eastern Campus. Another phone call came in from our vice president. It wasn't good. We were losing some funding that year. The director decided that she was moving on, and she told all of us to get our resumes in order. So then I called the vice president. I was courageous and said, I know it's the end of the year, we have grants due, how can I help? I got the team together, we finalized the reporting. He then called back at the time and said, we're going to do a search for a director, and we don't have income for the director, so it'll be a program manager. Would you mind being the interim program manager at the time? I said, hold please. I did my praise dance. I said, hallelujah, Lord, thank you so much for blessing me with this opportunity. And I became the interim program manager for the Women in Transition. All of that happened within 6 months to a year's time. And then the following year after that, we earned more money. I then was promoted again to director. After that, I had the opportunity of managing a college-wide grant for our career technical educational programs. And I'm saying all this to say, I firmly believe in my heart it was because I worked through my stuff. And I went through my counseling, and I became okay with what had happened to me in my life. And God was rewarding me for taking care of my stuff. Regardless of the fact that I have 2 degrees from two prestigious universities, I was in the same cycle. I wasn't moving anywhere. After my degree from Vanderbilt University, my first job was making $9.45 an hour. My second job was making only $11. I might have moved up to $14 an hour. But I really feel I would have been in that same cycle had I not worked through my stuff. So now I'm in the position to help other women work through their stuff. So within Women in Transition, we normalize everything. There is no story that we haven't heard. No one looks at me and thinks that I have been through domestic violence. No one looks at me and might think that I have been on county assistance. I have been through some stuff. But because I was able to work through my stuff, I now encourage other women. And one thing I'm also firm in believing, I was able to dig my way out of my valley because of my educational background. So my message to women always is, get your education, get a credential in something, because you'll be able to move yourself out of your valley faster. That's just how our system operates. Life is full of ups and downs. It's a roller coaster ride. But I firmly believe because of my educational background, I was able to advance myself. So that's another story I'm telling women. Doesn't matter where you are in your educational pursuit, if you never finish high school or GED, that's okay. We will point you to the right direction. We will hold your hand in the process. If you have your high school diploma or GED, but you've never gone to college, Tri-C is intimidating. I will admit that. It's a very large institution. We will direct you, and we have cheerleaders in every department who look out for our women. So we will take your hand, introduce you to those resources, not just at Tri-C, but through our community partners as well. My team, we have started our first program with East Cleveland. It's all geared towards single moms. When we say we love these women, we love these women. This is really who we get to serve. They have our cell phone numbers. We talk outside of classroom time, and they help each other. They become a support system for each other. So my final thoughts, because I can't start to ramble, is this is a program to help women deal with their stuff to support you in the process and to provide you resources to help you move along as you establish some goals for not only yourself, but for your family as well. Because we all know that women are the center of our family, the center of our community. If mama's strong, then everybody else around her is going to be strong as well. So, we start a new program the week of March 1st. There's still time to get in that program. So, if you're interested at all, if anything that I'm saying resonates with you, you can call our office at 216-987-4187, or you can check out our website at www.tri-c.edu/women in transition. Again, that's www.tri-c.edu/WIT. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a blessing. If there are any other questions or comments that I can share, this is a virtual program. I want to say that too. But don't fret. All you need is a cell phone, and we can walk you through that. If you have access to a computer or a laptop or Chromebook, great. But if not, don't fret. All you need is your cell phone, and we would love to invite you into our virtual classroom.
Wow, I think that might have been one of the most powerful presentations I've ever heard, because the reality is people need to know your heart. And so I just want to encourage every woman today, wherever you are, East Cleveland or anywhere in the county, take advantage of the service. You can go from the bottom to the top. And Omega, you know that we believe in education. We will support you in any way necessary to get you back in school or get you to your next goal. I just cannot thank Tri-C enough. Just want to keep reminding you that if you have questions, I have access to these ladies, access to this program. Call us at Omega, email me, all of the members, you know my cell number. If you're somebody watching YouTube, you call the church. We'll find you, okay? So God bless you. I appreciate you. You are marvelous. Your story is amazing. We want your testimony to be the testimony of many women.
Absolutely.
How to overcome adversity. And the only sprinkle we're going to add is God is the impetus, the catalyst, the absolute center of our abilities to make these changes. And you know that God always says, love your neighbor as thyself, not better than yourself. So if you love yourself, you can love your neighbors. And thanks for joining us. We are so glad that you made it into the sanctuary today.
Absolutely.
And you know what I'm going to say, y'all. Catch you on the flip-flop.